Let us wait for about 5 minutes for the start. Uh, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. I bid to distinguished speakers and all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, dear speakers and my fellow friends, I am Raihanul Izzahuda binti Haizali and I am delighted to welcome you to the webinar of awareness of appropriate sampling techniques and implementation of probabilities in real working environment. It's an honor to be your moderator for this insightful event. To bless our webinar today, I would like to invite Muhammad Ahmad Jufri bin Shahril to recite the dua.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa afatil muttaqin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, ya Karim, ya Wadud, kami merafakkan rasa syukur kepadamu kerana telah mengizinkan kami untuk berada dalam menghadiri bengkel program pada kali ini. Kami juga memohon kehadiratmu agar majlis ini berjalan dengan lancar. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha Esa lagi Perkasa, kami memohon kehadiratmu semoga Engkau jadikan majlis ini sebagai satu wadah untuk kami bersatu padu, bekerjasama dan membantu di dalam kalangan kami. Kau berkatikanlah perjumpaan kami pada hari ini, ya Allah. Semoga ianya diterima sebagai satu perhimpunan yang mendapat keredaan darimu. Ya Allah, ya Fatu, ya Alim, bantulah kami, bimbinglah kami untuk menjadi insan-insan yang beramanah terhadap tanggungjawab yang diberikan ini. Kau jadikanlah kami insan-insan yang sentiasa berusaha ke arah kebaikan. Kau pemudahkanlah untuk kami terus menjalankan aktiviti-aktiviti yang dirancang. Semoga segala usaha yang dijalankan meningkatkan kemenjadian pelajar dari segi rohani, akademik dan kurikulum. Ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim, jadikanlah perhimpunan kami ini sebagai perhimpunan yang diberkati dan dirahmati, dan jadikanlah perpisahan kami selepas ini sebagai perpisahan yang Engkau pelihara daripada bahaya dan juga dari keburukan. Allahumma fattah alaina hikmata wa anshur alaina min khazain rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you, Amma, for the dua recitation. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have two distinguished speakers, which is Dr. Amirul Rafiq Abu Rahim and Madam Siti Hasni binti Zakaria. But before we continue with our session, I have an exciting announcement to make, which is we are planning to capture some wonderful moments from today's webinar. I would like to ask all participants to turn on your camera for a brief photography session. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Without further ado, let's move on with our webinar. But before that, there are a few housekeeping notes, which is please keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking to avoid background noise. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker. Dr. Amira Arafi Abu Rahim is a distinguished researcher and statistician with extensive experience in both academic and professional settings. Dr. Amir has been a research associate at the Khazanah Research Institute in Kuala Lumpur since 2016, where he specializes in quantitative and policy-driven analysis. He earned his PhD in applied statistics from University Malaya in 2024, following a master's degree in the philosophy of mathematics and ethnomathematics from University Putra Malaysia and a bachelor's degree in statistics from University Technology Mara. Dr. Amirul's strong academic background in applied statistics and philosophy of mathematics makes him a great speaker that we hope we all learn from. Now, I invite Dr. Amirul to deliver the first topic of our webinar.
Hi everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I start, can you see my slides? The front
Yes,
page of
Doctor.
my slide, and the line is clear, right?
Yes, very good.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the invites for me to talk about things related to this probability in real working environment. And I would also like to thank to Puan Nur Shafizan, Puan Rashida, and also Dr. Ida Nurmaya for inviting me for this session today. Thank you, and also thank you for the introduction about my background just now. Tak adalah hebat sangat pun. I just finished my PhD last year in applied statistics, and as what you have precisely mentioned, my background is really heavily on labor market analysis and policy and related to policy driven analysis. So all this while, for about 14 or 15 years of experience, of working experience in this space, right? I've been working closely on, like I mentioned, a policy-driven analysis. It over the years, I would say it is expanded, starting from looking into a customer satisfaction index and also doing some sort of consultation work on company strategic improvement, or management, company decision making, or mission and vision. Then I moved into a government agency working as a statistician, and there I focus my area on demographic analysis and heavily focuses on fertility issues. And then I've worked with this government agency under Ministry of Women for about 5 to 6 years. And then I moved to KRI to expand my research area on employment or labor market analysis space. And then in KRI, I'm much more involved in looking into specifically on youth related issues in the labor market. And recently, I delved into more focus on our graduate employability issue. So just a bit of background about KRI for those who are less aware about who and what is KRI. So we are a research think tank funded by Khazanah Research Institute, by Khazanah National Berhad under Yayasan Asana. And we are doing a research on a various pressing issue of the nation. And from that research, we recommend policy to improve the well-being of Malaysians. And we do this through well-grounded data analysis, and also we convey our result or our research through meetings, doing forums to gain some more understanding on the issues at hand. And then from that
findings, we advocate to the knowledge, what is the knowledge that we acquire. So as I mentioned, we are sponsored by Khazanah Nasional Berhad through Yayasan Asana, and we are a non-profit organization, and we started our function in 2014, and our board of trustees is chaired by Dr. Nung Sari Ahmad Radi, and we have another three trustees, Dato' Amirul, managing director of Khazanah Nasional Berhad, and Dato' Isham Hamdan, as well as Nicholas Cow. And so far, we have three main research pillars at KRI, where we focus on urban and regional development. And we also have this inclusive and sustainable development and growth and structural transformation. So for my research interest, right, it is mostly fall under growth and structural development, where I focus on labor market space, as well as looking into some kind of the issue on decent work for our people. And this is just to showcase on what we are doing across a decade of our establishment. We are actually we are committed to expand our research and stay relevant in this space. So from our inception in 2014, right, we started our report with two main issues on looking into the state of well-being, the state of household, our household well-being, SOH, and also we are looking very much on or heavily into the space of macroeconomics perspective. We are looking into a trade, in what is the contribution of trade into our trade into our GDP, and also then we started to expand our expertise or our area into housing, looking into the urban space, and then social mobility, and slowly expand into more detailed issue on digital policy, and also looking into the firms and jobs, cities and regional studies, artificial intelligence, and we started to venture into the issue of care economy, climate finance, as well as green industry policy. So as you can see, we are actually that is also something that is to translate what is our board of trustees vision on KRI. On KRI position in this policy driven space. So we are expanding, but currently we still have quite a small team in KRI. We only have about 18 staffs. We actually have about 23, and 5 of them are actually away for continuing studies, doing PhD and masters. And now we say that our credible research has led to the inclusion of a recommendation in the national public policy. We proudly say that this because our aim is always to making sure that our robust work on this policy space is not being wasted, I would say, because at the end of the day, people would say that the investment to KRI is actually coming from apa tu, from the taxpayers' money, right? So similar to what a government agency, other government agencies. So we must make sure that everything that we do has been something that is can contribute to the nation, to the well-being of our people. So one of it is we have to make sure that whatever policy that we suggested to the government is being taken and at least being discussed at the ministerial level. So so we have input. So as you can see from this triangle, right, at the bottom, from the input, we have this research activities, and we do some kind of advocacy, and then we have this output in terms of the report itself, and we also have sometimes we need to give as a kind of output, we have to give input to the various ministries about our suggestion. So from this we have discussion, and when we see that some kind of improvement can be done to this aspect and to that aspect, and then when the government will say yes, this is something that we need to do, then the impact would be sometimes the recommendation is been specifically mentioned during the budget announcement and whatnot. And this is something that we are closely we are I would say we are closely monitoring it, because that is a part and parcel of our mission and vision at KRI, a long-term and short-term vision at KRI. So usually we will do what we do is we through setting the agenda, we see what are the new issues and what is the new approach that we can do for this various research, and then we design the policy. Basically we try to follow as best as possible a good step in doing a research.
Dr. Amirul,
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Excuse me, but are you presenting your slide and it's supposed to
Sorry.
move?
No,
It's like
so now I'm at our credible research. Bukan ke?
but your show you don't show your slide.
So it's still in the front
In the
page, right?
probability in the first page, huh?
Okay, let me show it again. Okay, sorry for that. So how about this one? The triangle, our credible research. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for that. So before this, so this those slides that I presented earlier about KRI. So these are our pillar. This is our pillars, and indicate what are the policy space that we are touching on the various issues related to the state of well-being of our people, our household, and then we move into economic and labor, housing and cities, and digital policy. And now we started to embark on care economy, climate finance, as well as green policy. And this is where I presented on the inclusion of our recommendation into the national policy, where I mentioned it is very important for us to keeping track on everything that we do, especially on things that we have recommended to the government to be implemented, or at least to be taken consideration in various policy discourse from the government perspective. So usually how do we monitor is our research work is, I mean, in terms of the recommendation that we did, is through looking into various mention in the policy document. So for example, so we have this recommendation on giving starting allowance to graduates for job search, for example. So it has been mentioned in last year budget. So that was actually from us that advocating it to the government. So we keep track on that. So that is something I very closely looking into, in terms of we see in short, kita rasa that is quite a kejayaan for us when our policy can be impactful to the policy decision or policy recommendation. And okay, so my focus in KRI is on labor market study. So just to put it in context, so how we eventually in KRI set up our research area, right? So we have this our flagship report on the state of household. So for the state of household, we just use we utilize data from Department of Statistics, mainly data from household and income surveys and labor force survey. So we use this data to churn mostly a descriptive analysis, or sometimes we do some kind of spatial analysis, looking into various issues in Malaysia that is that will impact to our people well-being. We look into education, we look into jobs, we look into trade, economic perspective and whatnot. And then from this state of our soul, we will take into, for example, in this state of our soul, we have research on employment. So in this employment statistic, we see that there's a growing number of, or growing percentage, or growing rate of youth unemployment. So youth unemployment has been double digit for almost a decade, right, since 2013. So we see that this is something pressing issues for the nation as we embark into started to talk about demographic division issues, as well as talking about this the movement of the country towards an aging nation, right? So that is a very important for us to fully utilize the potential of our youth that we have today in order for us to get any sort of investment, to utilize the investment for future use, right? Because during the when the time arrived for Age Nation in 2040, where 15% of our people are actually age between 65 years and above. So that means we need to utilize more resources to taking care of this age people, right? Older people. So the investment should come from today. So we see that this is a very a strong premise or strong justification on how or why we should go to looking into this youth and school to transition bit, right? And from this youth and school to transition, we have discovered a lot of things on the space of labor market perspective for our young people, or for our youth especially. And then when I go into a bit more detail on the third quadrant, where we see that this could impact in terms of the education debt, and this would impact in terms of wages, or the evolution of our skilled job creation. Then we started to discuss on decent work and future work thing. And then we go to the fourth quadrant. We also talk about the social mobility. How is it important for us to make sure that our people, or especially those who are with tertiary education, to have a good jobs or skilled jobs. So that means it will contribute to a good social mobility. And then for you to have such a good social mobility, you have to have not just to have a good qualification, being a tertiary educated workforce, but you should be also be living in a space of providing you a good or decent jobs and a quality of salary, right? So here this multi-diverse perspective is not come into cast in a split second. So it requires a bit of thinking and a bit of time. So as you can see, this is actually the evolution of how we actually churn our research and thought process in KRI. So moving to our topic today, where I was tasked by your school to look into the application of basically to having this sharing experience about my work that utilizes any sort of probability in this policy space analysis. So I hope this can be two-way conversation between us. So if you have any question, feel free to ask, or you can just type it if you feel shy to ask in person. So I'm not really an expert in this, and I'm not aiming to give a sort of lecture session for probability subject, but then I'll try my best to bring the discussion into an application on what I've been doing so far and how probability will come into place. So I understand that I learned that you are all from IT background, right? Not in the statistics. And this is also, I think, highly important for us to highlight that there's a growing opportunity for students in IT, right? This is not something new, lah. I think for last couple of decade also have been mentioned that IT is a um, um, opportunity for future work, right? So and I think also for those who are in this IT background, you should always also have some kind of understanding on, but I'm sure theoretically your subjects, or you will be equipped by all these statistical tools for you to be able to relate what have you been learning in statistic with any sort of algorithm or computational things. But for me personally, yes, we should be, as someone who are dealing with a computers thing like computer language, you should be able to at least have some basic kind of understanding on statistic bit, right? So this is very important. By having this is where we call the profession of data scientists, right? You are not just having this ability on doing things related to computational algorithm, but you also have some kind of understanding on statistic background, so that you will be able to do a more sophisticated analysis too. Some is something, but a correct and sophisticated analysis on things. So to making sure that the things that you are deliver, or the things that you explain is actually tally of what um, of the theory says, right? So this is very important. So let me start with the definition and importance of probability. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not trying to give a lecture about probability. We have statistics lecture kat sini kan. So, I just wanted to just do some recap or recall. Maybe you have learned this. So, basically, probability is a measure of a likelihood that an event will occur. So this is a very fundamental concept in statistics, and it is also plays a very important role in decision making and also predictive analysis. So when we predict something, we are actually dealing with with a probability. So it's a branch of mathematics that deals with you calculating the likelihood or the possibility of a given occurrence. And you express this between number 0 to 1. So you know, right? A probability can never be more than 1. So you have this possibility of 0 to 1 for something, some event to be occurred. And if you say that if you have this probability of 1, it should indicate that you have high certainty of it. While if it is 0, it indicates that impossible. So that's very impossible for that particular event to occur at that particular time. So this is very basic example of probability. So I also have this thinking. I'm not that a student who are very good in this probability sampling space company, because during that time macam I tak faham lagi what is it, why should we learn about probability, how can we relate this into the real world. So banyak kita belajar for probability macam tossing coin. So what is it? So tossing coin, it's just tossing coin lah. What is it important with the next job market, right? So when as time goes, and then I learned a few more subjects looking into the sampling frame, belajar pasal methodology, and we learned about the distribution, the binomial distribution, and what. Then we started to have the thinking that, oh, this is the importance of learning probability. The basic, of course, you have to learn lah. Tossing the coins lah, apa benda boring kan. But then it will get more interested when you learn about the modeling. So that is actually something that you deal with probability itself, right? The way you interpret the numbers, it's actually dealing with the probability. So some basic terminology. Of course, when we talk about probability, we will talk about event as it is an outcome or a set of outcomes of a random phenomenon. For example, you rolling a dice and you getting a seed, right? And the sample space. So you know that sample space is like sampling frame, kan, the set of possible outcomes of a random random experiments. So for instance, if you dice a roll, the sampling space that you might have is 1 to 6, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And the probability of an event, that is a ratio of the number that is a favorable outcome of that number to become up, right, in your sample space. So what is the possibility of the number one to be um, to be appear in your sample space? So that is where the probability concept comes in. So yeah, this is the example I'm trying to just showing to you in everyday scenarios. So for example, the simplest one is in terms of the predicting weather. So kita ada kan kalau tengok kat TV tu sometimes kita ada, tak tahulah sekarang ada ke tak kan, dekat TV3, TV1 kan dia ada macam weather forecast for tomorrow, for this week. So that's very important. We still use that to predict a weather. And it becomes more accurate with the presence of a satellite, right? So and to add to that juga kita ada semacam risk of investment in finance and making decisions based on statistical data. Of course, we use statistical data to do sort of a prediction. So in finance, for example, you have a bunch of data. So from that data, you can actually do some kind of prediction with the some of the computational methods, right, or statistical methods. So this is very interesting, right? In investment in finance, right, you are not just having this probability. If you decide to use this option, what kind of return that you are expecting to get for this investment. So it's not just that. So in banking sector, for example, one of my friends are doing that. They are actually having this index to assess the person who wanted to do loans from bank. For example, if you want to do home financing, so of course you will send to the bank, right, your financial documentation, your payslip, your saving accounts, and then another sort of your obligation. So banks will impute or compute or key in your information. So how much your income is, and then they also have this back end calculation in terms of assessing your financial your financial affordability. And from this, the system would produce the possibility of you as a lender, how affordable are you to be to pay back the loans in the next 35 years, given the information that you send to the bank today. So things are moving so fast right today. So anything is actually automated. So this are the kind of things yang banking sector are doing now. So they don't so they no longer need human to macam tengok satu-satu your income and calculate your debt service ratio and whatnot. So this is very interesting, right? And then finally the system will come out with the likelihood or possibility of you as a lender, how many percent are you having the likelihood to be loan defaulter. And then finally, they will come up with whether or not to give that loan to you, right? And then, of course, these are all based on the statistical data. And so, like I mentioned earlier, weather forecasting meteorologists use probability to predict the likelihood of rain, snow, and sunshine. And this weather forecast become more accurate this year, this recently, because of the presence of satellite data. And this is very important for example, for airspace industry, right? For the flight and flight plane, for the flight planning and whatnot, and invest in financing sectors as well. Right. The importance. So of course, the importance is for decision making, and it provide you in making decision under uncertainty. So this is very important. Macam I mentioned about the financing sector, right? The fraud in the financing sector is very high. So kalau dia tak do some kind of intervention to making sure that the loan process is good enough, so that they will make sure they will increase the loan defaulter. So that is very important for financial sectors. For investment, for important, right? So and also again, for the second one is for risk management. So again, for finance, insurance, and engineering, it is very important to manage the risk, right? Even for probability of weather, it is also important for looking into the risk management aspect. And of course, when we talk about statistics, we cannot run away from the predictive analytics. So so I think for SIT student, you have this capacity in terms of your skill set for machine learning, and applying the data, or sort of any sort of data into computational algorithm. So this is very important. So basically, how do I connect this? Sorry. Basically, how do I connect this into labor market or employment research, right? So so as I embark into this graduate employability, youth employment, we use probability to predict employment trends, and also assess the effectiveness of the policy, and we understand what are the kind of factors that can influence or can affect the employability. Basically, you can just run regression analysis, multinomial regression analysis, and whatnot. So that is actually dealing with the probability. The answer itself is actually dealing with the any sort of probability and the likelihood. So basically, we have these two kind of probability, right? Theoretical and empirical. So what does it mean by these two terms? First is in terms of this theoretical probability, where it is mainly based on the assumption of an ideal or perfectly random process. So this is in theory lah. So it is calculated by dividing the number of favorable outcomes by the total number of possible outcome. So for example, if you have the number of favorable outcome, when it is divided to total number of possible outcome, and that is a part of theoretical probability. And again, this can be translated into the probability of rolling a 3 or on a fair 6-sided dice is 1.1/6. So this is basically what is expected to happen based on the mathematical expression, mathematical concept. So, and second thing is the empirical probability, where it is based on the observational data, on the data that you have been collected or from the experiment, right? And it is calculated by dividing the number of times that the event occurs by the total number of trials. So this is mainly based on the experiment that you have done, the research has done. Then finally, you will come up with the formula. Basically, the formula is the same for probability. You still get 0 to 10, 0 to 1. But mainly empirical is something that you are repeating an experiment and you are doing the observation for the outcomes. And we have this subjective probability. It is based on your personal judgment or experience rather than objective calculation. So it is reflecting your degree of belief in the occurrence of an event. So this is mainly related to psychometric task related to when you so if you happen to participate in any surveys that is asking you about the degree of agreement or the level of importance, can you rate 1 to 10. 1 means the lowest level of agreement, and 10 means highest level of agreement. So this what we call it as a subjective probability, possibility for you based on the subjective assessment of your subject of interest. And of course, this is quite common, right? When we talk about probability, we have this kind of distribution, the normal, binomial, and Poisson. So boring lah kan, benda ni kan. So I remember last time during my degree level, we have one subject on this probability concept. So we have to prove how can we get this normal distribution, binomial distribution. masa belajar tu susah lah kan, tapi after belajar tu we see that, oh, this is very important, and this is very interesting, because you are actually trying to look into the distribution of your data, and then the data can tells you what is the kind of distribution that the data is, and then that will bring an implication into your into the kind of analysis that you wanted to do, whether it is whether it is what do you call it, um, it's a continuous variable and whatnot. So that is something very, I feel that yeah, mula-mula susah, but then after that you will find it interesting because it is closely related on what you are doing. I mean, it brings an implication on what you should do in your data analysis moving forward, right? Okay, so application in labor market research, of course, in on my 15 years of working experience dealing with this statistic punya thing, I don't really use this distribution bit, but the kind of understanding should be there. So, for example, when we deal with, I've done recently analysis on a 3-decade analysis on um, um, distribution of our wage structure in Malaysia. So you have to have to the back of your head that when you use income data, the distribution should be skewed to the right or skewed to the left, right? Then you have to do some kind of intervention to your data to allow you to do some kind of analysis, the Hickett estimates, or when you wanted to do some kind of regression. So you have to make sure that the data to follow should be following the correct distribution. Otherwise, your interpretation is not valid, right? So this is very important of understanding why should we learn probability at the first place. And in terms of the application in labor market analysis, kalau kita tengok on theoretical probability, of course, we can look into the likelihood of graduates finding jobs if all factors were equally favorable. So I use this for my analysis, or we do some kind of logistic regression analysis to look into the positive or negative outcome of our graduate employability. So we do that, we have that. And also we have subjective probability. We use, sometimes people will use subjective probability when making decision based on experts of opinions and qualitative data. Sometimes we use this aspect because of we have insufficient numbers of information about the people ataupun the sampling space itself. So that, and also sometimes we feel that we don't require that much big sample space or sampling frame to look into the specific issues. It's just enough for us to have this feedback from expert opinion, so that we have to do, for example, focus group discussion to dive into a certain issue. So this is very important. This is happen when, for example, I do this a whole big research on, I did a very big survey on collecting data or information on what do you think is the best skill set for you to be marketable in job market, for example. So I buat survey kan to ask our graduates about this, and then graduate will come up with 9 items that they think is important for them to have before they go to the market, in order for them to be marketable after graduation. So they come up with 9 items, right? So for me, that nine items sometimes can be overlapped and can be grouped into 2 or 3 groups, right? So so then we feel that, oh, then I think I'm not the subject matter expert on this, so I have to hire someone or getting feedback from expert in this area, in this 9 aspect, so that we can have a very good foundation on 2 aspect actually. So this 9 can actually come up into 2 aspect that is very important for our graduates to be equipped before they go to the labor market. So from this perspective, we feel that okay, we need to do a focus group discussion. So we invite 3 experts in psychometric, for example, in psychology, for example, and thirdly, for those who are very have an expert in, for example, in labor, for example. So they sit together and they discuss how we can combine this 9 or categorize this 9 aspect into 2 or 3. Then finally, we can come up with, okay, actually graduate needs to have these 3 skills. But these 3 skills actually can be delved down into another 3 or 4 skill set that they have to be equipped before they go to the labor market. So we do that. We do that for subjective probability, for example. And thirdly, empirical probability. This is quite simple and straightforward. You do trend analysis. You do some kind of projection through regression analysis. Sometimes you can do time series analysis and whatnot. Analyzing job market trends, it involves various factors that can influence the employment opportunities, economic condition, the growth of our job, the growth of our industry, and also technological advancement. So by having this probability, right, it can help to predict the future employment trends by us analyzing this historical data and also understanding the patterns. And then from understanding that patterns, we can actually identify what sort of employment that can be, what sort of the prospect of employment in future. So this will allow us to estimate the likelihood of job availability. And that's, if you're aware, right, there's if you're aware, recently macam many of these papers or websites come up with this suggestion ataupun findings yang mention, oh, this is the top 5 jobs in future, the top 6, the top 10 jobs in future that graduates should be focused on so that they can being marketable in future. So they are actually using this prediction. And of course, when we talk about prediction, we are actually dealing with probability. And what in terms of data, what kind of source of data? Like I mentioned to you earlier, right? We in KRI, we always prioritize available existing data, especially data from the government agency. So we really appreciate the data. For us, data is cool, right? A must, right? Cool. So data is cool and very expensive. So that's why we will, in any of our work, we will start with churning or utilizing this readily available data out there from DOSM, from Ministry of Higher Education, from Ministry of Education, from even from Ministry of Women and whatnot. So from that data, we do some kind of very high level analysis in looking into the problem, right? Sometimes we also use industry report to look into the problem. And then when we see that, sometimes you can see some of the headline is actually quite common. So contohnya macam our recent survey, our recent this report that shows that allowance low starting pay among graduates. So we have found that 70% of our graduate bila dia habis belajar dapat kerja, the first job, and they land with a very low pay job. Macam 70% of them are actually earning as low as 2,000 ringgit, and 50% of them are actually earning below than 1,500. So sometimes that is something that people may already know, kan? People dah tahu, oh memang gaji rendah. But for us, that is very important to emphasize that yes, gaji rendah, but how severe the problem is. So we do the analysis for 10 years or 15 years of 30 years for of this salary evolution in the labor market. So we see that, okay, this is actually a structural issues in the economy, and we need to go deeper in looking into the analysis, looking into the potential solution for this. Okay, so now at the macro level, kita dah tahu analysis tu, kita dah tahu the problem is gaji rendah, right, among the graduates since 30 years. Then we don't have data to look into, to delve into what are the sort of progression of this graduate kalau they start dengan gaji yang rendah. So then we start have this thinking process, is come up with research questions, problem statement, and whatnot. And this is where KRI comes in with its new kind of survey. So that's why so any kind of survey that we have done, we always back it up with a very well-rounded of background research from very readily available data. And this is very important. I think in academia pun, we are always as best possible to making sure that our analysis is picking up is backed up from the actual data, right? So this is very important for us in KRI as well. So the trend analysis, of course, we have done a few work on using utilizing more sophisticated methods in KRI, and we started to embark on using AI to do some sort of analysis, doing do more visualized kind of outputs for for the results of our analysis, so that people in layman, right, can just look into the figure. Sorry, I haven't that time to prepare that slide, but then we have this information in looking into consumption space, for example. So kalau you buat modeling, right, you will come up with so many numbers. So people might not understand us, especially those who are in the grassroots. But we have come up with this consumption space analysis by using Python. So those people who are good in Python, try to do this cluster analysis. So from there, we can just showing 4 decades of consumption pattern in four visuals, right? So you can see the difference in between aspirational and low income earners in their consumption pattern for different decade. So this is very interesting. Rather than you come up with this
Dr. Amirul,
yes.
I'm so sorry for interrupting, but because of time constraint, we might have to cut the webinar quite short and move on to 10 minutes of Q&A session now.
Sure. I have another 2 slides to present. So
So,
thank you for
if any students are wanting to ask questions to Dr. Amirul, please state your name and your class.
okay. Can I continue a bit for about 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so yeah, so yes, that is actually something that we are doing in KRI, right? So again, like I mentioned, analyzing job market trend. So in terms of the case study, it's not a case study lah. Actually, I just wanted to introduce you about the talent corps critical occupation list. If you have time, you can go looking into it. So basically, talent corps are actually doing this some sort of probability to look into the demand of skills in the next in that particular year. Unfortunately, in that particular year lah, but we are suggesting them to do it for next 5 to 10 years. So you can look into that. So and read the methodology that Talent Corp has come up with this critical occupation list for that particular year. And it's very important, I think, for our graduates to be equipped of in terms of looking into the information that this critical occupation list has, in the sense that it would be useful for you to plan for your career. So I think that is just that for my presentation. I have a few more slides, but I think that is not really related or with our discussion today. But I'm happy to take any questions if there's any. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for Dr. Amirul for your meaningful sharing session about KRI and also the probability in workplace. It is a very interesting insights about what KRI actually does, and it opened up another point of view for our students. Thank you, Dr. Amirul. So now I would like to ask any students that is interested to ask questions to Dr. Amirul for our Q&A session.
I don't have any questions, madam.
Sorry, I cut. I can't hear you.
Can I ask
Alright, Assalamualaikum
my
Doctor.
Yes.
My name is Muhammad Aiman. I have a question about the world nowadays. More popular with trading environment, right? So I want to ask how the traders or how the brokers they analyze the market trends in the trading world nowadays. Thank you.
All right. Shall I respond to that first, or I collect the questions? Do you have any other question? Oh, let me answer that first. Thank you, Amar, is it? Thank you for your questions. Very good questions. I have a friend who work in Bursa eventually, and I asked the same question about how you are actually. So he is a broker. So how you are actually working with this? So they are basically have their own software. They are just imputing all the information that they want in terms of, for example, if you have this stock, right, ABC stock. So what stock you want to sell or you want to buy today, that you can just put it in. Then the system will show you the performance of that, all the information about this stock. And then they also show you the stick, right? The blue stick, the red stick, about the performance of that stock in even in a minute basis. So they're real time. So you can actually make a decision on whether or not you have to buy or to sell it in that. And they are also having that more sophisticated software in showing you a probability of that stock to have either a good prospect in tomorrow or bad prospect for tomorrow. But of course, it will fluctuate because based on the scenario ataupun the news that will be come out today or tomorrow. So it up to that advancement. The advancement tu bukannya sekarang saja. It is evolution. The evolution tu started since 10 or 20 years ago. So it's not you in trading in a trading arena, but yes, the competition is very high kat situ. So and it's very sensitive. It's a very market sensitive lah. For me, I have this understanding or principle that if you want to be in this as a traders, right, is for you young fork out your money and then you do just this trading. You have to have a very good foundation on trading itself, and you have to have a very good foundation on understanding the algorithm itself. And thirdly, you also need to know your objective, and of course objective too should come hand in hand with a huge amount of modal, your capital. So kalau you setakat ada RM10,000, just forget it. So it's not to disencourage those people yang minat buat this, because it takes time for you to do that. I've tried before. Yeah, of course, you have to deal with some sort of uncertainty there lah. Tapi kalau you have setakat small capital, it's just not worth it to do that. Any other questions?
My name is Ikhlas Daya. So I would like to ask you, what are some of the key challenges that you have faced in conducting job market research, and how do you overcome them?
Okay, that is very good questions. That is very, very good question. So when I first started, okay, so this maybe take a bit of time. So but please cut if I overrun. Sebab ni akan touch my emotion juga. So I was coming from a very poor family. I mean, taklah poor sangat. I mean, low income family kan. So I couldn't afford to be unemployed for so long. So I started to look out for work since my internship. So bayangkan, I punya PhD, I punya degree dekat in UiTM Kelantan. So I present my thesis. Dulu ada thesis lah. So I have to present the thesis. Masa tu hari Ahad tak silap So hari Ahad bekerja kan dekat Kelantan. So the day I presented tu, then I know that I passed the presentation. Then I quickly pergi Shah Alam because I dapat job offer dekat Shah Alam for Monday next day. So I sampai Shah Alam at 7 a.m. and then I terus quickly start kerja pukul 8:30 pagi. So that's how life lah kan. And then when I started my job back then, I was attached under with consultant. Then I work on customer satisfaction index. So we do some kind of process improvement ataupun we advise our clients on the state of your client, the state of your customer satisfaction towards your businesses, towards your services, towards your products kan. So kita buat so masa tu I tengah jaga pasal some of this very big brand in the market. So the project worth 2 million ringgit, and then I was tasked to provide a report. So I ada 3 bulan je to do that. So as a fresh graduate, of course I macam clueless lah. I don't know what to do, and even some and plus I need to do the reporting. So that is I would see that for me lah, I take it as a positive thing for my career because that was a very small companies. Dia ada cuma 7 orang, 8 orang staff dia. That's why dia berani assign to fresh graduate to do things for them. Then I take it as a challenge to provide the report, and then of course it need some sort of independency, and then you need to do some kind of exploration. So kat situ dulu tak macam sekarang. Sekarang sangat banyak upskilling or reskilling courses that you can take online, free pun dekat YouTube pun ada. So I encourage our graduates to go there. Even kalau you tak tahu pasal Python pun you can just tengok dekat YouTube and you can learn, right? So I spent about 2 days to understand what is customer satisfaction index is, and to understand what is the methodology is, because that is not something being equipped to myself during my study, right? So but I cannot blame UiTM for not equipping me with that skill set kan, sebab universiti tak akan ada capacity to teach everything to you, right? So I belajar dekat YouTube about the thing. So masa tu ada YouTube je lah, tak macam sekarang lagi advance kan. So I belajar from that, and I even Google ask YouTube how to do a good policy analysis. So kat situ I belajar lah macam mana buat. Sebab UiTM tak ajar, then I cannot blame UiTM to not ajar me, right? So from that I learned by myself on doing things. It took me about 3 days. I think 3 days lah for me to understand the whole space of things. And then I tengok data, I gather the data. Data senang lah. Then this one I appreciate UiTM because dia ajar I how to analyze the data, how to understand the data. Tapi satu lagi, I tak equip myself with those computerized punya thing. So I tak ada the ability to do Python ke apa benda lah. So again, I go in YouTube, I look into apa yang orang guna. So customer satisfaction dia ada guru dia. So guru dia tu dia guna R. So again, I take some time to learn R. So fortunately R tu free kan. So I just download R free. So I belajar the algorithm. So it took me about 1 week to understand about the methodology and how to change our new CSI. Then finally, in the 3 months, so I can come up with the analysis and with the full report, 300 pages of report. And then, and the report got accepted. Lepas tu, the company tu suka, then dia nak buat another project with us in looking into their service improvement. So I'm not telling that I'm good enough to do that. Of course, adalah macam back and forth in terms of the content apa semua dengan my boss. But I think the level of independency for you to look into sort of information kan. Macam you, for example, you are in IT background, right? You tak ada statistik punya capacity. Contohnya you tak belajar lah something related to time series, for example. Bila you kerja, you kena belajar, you kena buat pasal time series. So this employers dia tak heran pun, you tak tahu ke apa, you kena buat. Kalau you tak buat, then kena marah lah kan. So you have to have some kind of independency. You kena cari some alternative for you to. I rasa sekarang senang lah, dah ada macam-macam ChatGPT and whatnot kan. Then you can refer on those sources. So of course challenges is there, but how how you maneuver that challenge into an opportunity is another thing. That is also a skill set on its own. And that is my feedback to that lah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amirul. And with that, I wrap up our Q&A session. And thank you very much, Dr. Amirul, for spending your time with us. But we appreciate your talk very much.
Welcome. Thank you so much for listening as well and inviting me. All right.
Now, now it is my great pleasure to introduce our second speaker, Madam Siti Haslini binti Zakaria. Madam Haslini is a distinguished lecturer in statistics, currently serving at University Technology Mara, Cawangan, Kelantan. Her academic journey is a testament to her dedication and expertise in the field of statistics, holding a Master of Science degree in Applied Statistics, a Bachelor of Science degree in Statistics, and a Diploma in Statistics, all from University Technology Mara. Madam Hastini has an impressive professional background, having taught at several notable institutions, including University of Kuala Lumpur and the Management and Science University. Her courses ranges from introductory statistics to advanced topics like time series analytics and statistical methods for engineering technology. Today, we are privileged to have her share her insights on this webinar. I would like to invite Madam Siti Hasli.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam UiTM di hati kita. Salam dari kampus Tanah Serendah Sekebun Bunga UiTM Cawangan Kelantan untuk semua pelajar-pelajar UiTM Cawangan Kedah. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you to Miss Syafizan, Puan Rasida and Dr. Ida Normaya for inviting me for this webinar today. So I am Siti Haslini binti Zakaria from College College Pengajian Pengkomputeran Informatik and Matematik UiTM Kelantan. Alright. So the topic today, say hi to Dr. Amirul. He is my senior during my degree level at UiTM Kelantan. Really happy to see you, Doctor. Okay, wait. So I'm sharing my screen. Wait. Okay. So sengaja letak gambar UiTM Kelantan kat depan so everyone you boleh tengok kan kita dekat Kelantan. Okay. So the topic given to me is about the sampling techniques. So I'm more on theory and academic perspective based on the sampling techniques. So for what I want to sharing to all of you today is only two subtopic. I will define to you what is the sampling technique and then the types of sampling technique. Hopefully that end of this sessions, all of you and us together lah, okay, can add our knowledge and understanding why we need to sample the populations and then how to different between probability and non-probability sampling and how to apply the appropriate sampling technique. All right. So before that, okay, what is the sampling technique? Actually, sampling technique is the process we select a sample from a population. Okay, the process that you take out a sample from the population. Okay, what is the population? Actually, population is a set of all items. Okay, and the sample is a subset of the populations. If you can see this figure that I attached ini dekat you ni, okay, this is populations and this is sample. So the process that we take out the sample from these populations, we call it as sample. Okay. And then the other yang I nak introduce is sampling frame lah, which is that consists, sampling frame is the frame that consists of all items in the population. Before we go to the sampling techniques, you need to really understand what is a sample, what is a populations. So barulah you boleh proceed to the sampling technique. Okay. So this is appropriate for the sampling technique. The choice of sampling technique normally yang kita nak employ in the study lah depends on certain factors that you should be considered. First is research objective and research questions, degree of accuracy required, availability of resources, you have a time constraint kan, advanced knowledge of the target population, scope of your research, and the require of statistical analysis. Okay, so before we go to the type of sampling, okay, I show you, this is the step in doing the sampling process. First of all, you need to define your population, okay. The second one, determine the sampling frame, because of one of the sampling technique compulsory to all of you to have sampling frame. Okay, after you have the sampling frame, you need to determine what is the best sampling technique based on your situation, based on your study. Okay, and then specify the sample size, and the last, you select the sample. Okay, this is the sample, how you take out a sample, a subset of the population tu daripada from populations. Okay, so there are two types of sampling technique. We have probability technique and non-probability sampling technique. Okay, for non-probability sampling technique, there are 4 techniques, which is convenience, judgmental, quota, and snowball sampling technique. For the probability sampling technique, we have simple random, systematic, stratified, cluster, and multi-stage sampling technique. Okay, what is the difference between non-probability and probability sampling? So for the non-probability, actually do not require the sampling frame. Kalau you tak ada sampling frame pun okay. So you can proceed with the non-probability sampling technique. And then the respondent does not equal chance to be selected as a sample. And the result from the non-probability sampling technique cannot be generalized to population. While for the probability, the sampling frame is compulsory. So it memang wajib untuk ada. So if you don't have any sampling frame, you cannot use probability sampling technique. And then all the elements or people in the population to have the equal chance to be selected as a respondent, as a sample. Okay, and then the result from the result can be generalized to the population lah. Okay. First, we move to the non-probability sampling technique. As I said before, the non-probability sampling technique ni not give all individuals same chance, any chance, equal chance to be selected as a sample. Okay, subject in non-probability sample usually selected on the basis of their accessibility or by the purpose of researcher judgment. Okay, the sample is not representative and of a population lah. Okay, it may pose a potential sources of selection bias. But usually when you use non-probability sampling technique, dia less expensive and less time consuming lah. Cepat lah. Okay, right. So the first technique in the non-probability sampling technique, we have convenience sampling. Convenience sampling ni is happen at the right place at the right time. Macam kita kata accidental lah. Not normally represent of the target population. Siapa yang ada masa tu, dia yang terpilih auto select as a respondent. Okay, for example, the first 200 customer to enter a shopping mall will become a sample. Okay, or first 5 callers in the television contest. The second type of non-probability sampling technique ialah quota sampling. Dia almost similar to convenience. Okay, but we set some characteristic, we set some quota to the target population. The characteristic of respondent to be selected are predetermined by the researcher lah. Okay, normally researcher akan set, for example lah, dia kata okay, a survey kita was carried out to study the opinion of the UiTM Cawangan Kelantan student regarding to the service in UiTM Cawangan Kelantan lah. So the proportion that we set of the characteristic, we just want to have a respondent 60% from male students and another 40% from female students. We already set the target. So this is a quota sampling. Okay. The third one is which is a judgmental sampling. Normally, a respondent are selected based on judgment of the researcher. What they have, the require of the characteristic of the study. Okay, researcher normally select respondent that meet the specific criteria for the study. Example, dia kata in laboratory settings where the choice of experimental subject. Example, animal, human, dia either to choose animal or human will reflect the investigators' pre-existing belief about the population. Dia macam researcher tu akan pilih respondent tu based on apa yang dia rasa, yang dia ni, si A ni adalah memenuhi kriteria yang saya nak. So saya automatically pilih dia. So itu based on judgmental lah. Okay. And then the last one in the non-probability sampling technique. Okay, we have snowball sampling. Okay, snowball sampling dia macam bola lah, bola salji yang besar tu kan. So from one sample to another sample and then to another sample until you get the end sample, which is your sample size lah. So daripada kecil tu dapat besar-besar. Okay, dia remember kata when the snowball rolling is dia will getting bigger. Okay. Use when the target population is very small. Kita punya target population small sangat. Alright. So example PDRM lah kan. How they catch the drug dealer. Let's say that PDRM ni dalam satu kampung tu kan. They only know only one drug dealer kan. So what to do, mungkin dia dapat ambilkan yang seorang tu, drug dealer tu, from the drug dealer tu dia ambil statement semua, so mungkin dia akan tahu another drug dealer. So bertambah. That's why dia kata from one sample to another sample and then to another sample. So until we achieve the sample size yang kita nak. Itu adalah snowball sampling. So it's all about 4 techniques dalam non-probability sampling technique. To do this non-probability sampling technique, actually you do not have tak perlu ada sampling frame. Okay. Dan seterusnya we move to the probability sampling technique, which is this is sampling yang paling most accurate lah compare, kalau nak compare between non-probability dengan probability adalah accurate dan selection dia tak bias. Okay, and then this probability sampling technique ni will can generalize the whole populations. Okay, so in the probability sampling, any element of the population has equal chance to be selected. So semua orang sebelum dia select the sample tu, everyone has equal chance to be selected. Okay, and then the representativeness of a sample cannot be questions because of memang kita pilih secara random, secara rawak. Okay, therefore the result of the research can be used in the generalizations to the entire target populations. It requires a sample frame lah. You kena ingat yang ni, when you want to use probability sampling technique, you need to have a sampling frame. Example of sampling frame maybe customer directory, list of students name, list of email. Okay, so from the list tu you can achieve the selected respondent from your sampling technique. So for probability sampling technique, actually we have five technique. Okay, first simple random sampling. Okay, a simple random sampling of size subject is selected in such a way that every possible sample of the same size sama has the equal chance to be selected. Dia macam for example a lucky draw. Okay, when you go to the, maybe you have a dinner, you go to the dinner, you before you enter the hall kan, you register and then you are given a number that represent to your name kan, apa-apa semua. Itu adalah contoh simple random sampling. And then the VIPs akan pilih kan your name dalam bowl kan, pilih and ambil dan sebut nama. So siapa yang terpilih itu adalah respondent, selected respondent. So this is a simple random sampling. So benda yang pertama, when you doing the simple random sampling under probability, you need to have a complete sampling frame. This is compulsory. The second one, label each element ataupun individual yang ada tu with the unit number. Okay, and then you need to choose randomly one by one without replacement until you get the sample size, your n. So that's the simple random sampling. Very simple. Okay, normally when we choose this sampling, when we your population size is not big lah, maybe 200 and below, maybe or 100 and below, sikit je population size you. So you boleh guna simple random sampling. The second one under probability sampling, we have systematic sampling. Dia less random than simple random sampling. Okay, masa sama when doing this systematic, systematic ni dia memang dia ada formula dia yang you kena pilih sebab you kena buat, you kena calculate sebelum you pilih, you select the respondent. Okay, masih sama, this is probability, you need to have sampling frame. The second one, to select which respondent, you need to calculate the interval, which is interval K equals to capital N divided by N, which is capital N ni adalah population size, and then small n is the sample size. When you get the value of K, you need to choose R, which is R is very depends on the value of K. So R ni you boleh pilih daripada 1 to K value. You boleh je pilih mana-mana. And then when you find, you decide the value of R, you can choose the sample from the sampling frame. So inilah dia punya ni R plus K until you get the R plus and minus 1K. Okay, this is systematic sampling technique. So the example, let's say that we have 100 student population size for account 110 student, we have 100 students, and then we want to select 20 students as a sample using sampling technique. What to do? First, you need to list all the students from 1 to 100 students, and then you need to calculate the interval K. Let's say that population size kita 100 kan, divide by 20, you get 5. So you need to select R, this R based on K. Either you can choose 1, 2, 3 until 5. Okay, and for my example, I choose R lah. I choose 2. So choose sample. So you dapatlah 27 ikut based on this systematic punya formula yang ni. Okay, so example yang ni lah. So number of sample, let's say that number of sample yang pertama adalah Ali kan. If you look at the sampling frame, kalau you tengok number of sample yang pertama R 2. So you look at the sampling frame, siapa student, contoh responden kita student kan. So who is the students yang dekat number 2? So let's say number 2 tu adalah Ali. So Ali automatically akan select as a respondent. Okay, responden yang kedua, bila you calculate R plus 2K, 2 plus 5 equals to 7. Look at the sampling frame, tengok siapa student yang nombor 7. Contoh nama Aminah. So automatically Aminah you punya respondent. Itulah teknik dalam systematic sampling technique. Dia ada gap 5 orang, one group, 5 student, so dipilih satu, dipilih seorang yang ikut kita punya ni. And then another 5 student which is group 2, ada 5 lagi kan, 6 to 5, kita pilih pula. So kita identify yang group tu 7, student yang ke-7. Jadi kita punya respondent. Itulah sehingga you achieve the sample size yang you nak, iaitu 20 orang respondent. Itu adalah systematic sampling technique. Okay. The third sampling technique saya bagi secara mudah lah. Saya pasti dan saya tahu semua confirm dah you all everyone dah belajar lah topik ni. Saya just add on your knowledge only secara overall sahaja, secara general. Okay. The third one under probability sampling technique, which is stratified sampling technique. So normally kalau kita sebut je stratified, you know strata represent for group kan. Kalau you jumpa je population yang diberikan situation given to you, dia dalam population ada group, so the best situation, the best technique yang you sampling technique yang you boleh pilih ialah stratified sampling technique. Normally, so for the stratified ni, the population tu dia divide into strata such that unit with strata within the strata tu, contoh dalam ni lah, contoh saya bagi within dalam ni dia homogeneous, dia sama. Kalau contoh yang ni group company A, semua orang dalam ni adalah company A. Okay. And then yang ni pun dalam ni within group company C ni, company B ni semua orang adalah daripada company B, sama juga. So within this group adalah homogeneous, but between this group which is company A and company B heterogeneous, berbeza. Yang ni pekerja daripada company A, yang ni daripada company B, yang ni daripada company C. Okay. So from that, when you have 3 different group, you want to use stratified sampling technique, you can select the sample within each strata. Okay, strata tu group lah. Okay, example lah. Okay, kata population, you ada dalam population you tu, let's say population you have 30 employees kan. So dalam tu dia ada divide by company A, company B and company C. Okay, you know that the population size for each group ni, company A 10, company B 12 and company C 8. So please do the calculation lah. Sample size, population size untuk each group divide by population, total populations and times dengan 15 lah. Kenapa 15? Sebab kita nak sample size kita 15 tadi. So you akan dapat secara adil based on the population for each group ni. So you dapat lah for company A dapat 5 respondents, company B 6 respondent and C 4 respondent. If we total up, kita dah achieve 15 respondent which is our sample size. Itu cara, that's the way that the process that how to use the stratified sampling technique. Remember, when you use the stratified is under probability sampling technique. So you need to have sampling frame. Okay. And then cluster sampling. Okay, normally cluster sampling ni dia you deal dengan large area, large population. Okay. Let's say that if you look at the figure ni kan, so population you ada group A, B, C, D dan E. Okay, kalau tadi mungkin sample size dia tak besar, yang ni kita macam contoh kita nak cover dia punya large geographical area lah, contoh I give it to you. So kita ada group A, B, C, D dan E kan. So for the cluster sampling ni, we just, kalau kita ada 5 group, we just only need to select, let's say that we want to select only 3 groups. So we just select 3 groups and then take out as a sample. Semua macam contoh ni group, kita pilih group A, group C and group D. So all the people in this group, 3 groups ni akan automatically jadi you punya sample. Itu je cluster sampling. Daripada 5 group besar tu, you just only choose 3 group and all the people in this 3 group should be selected as your respondent. Itu adalah cluster sampling. Contoh yang saya bagi, maybe your ITM can be classified based on the respective region kan. East region, North, Central region and East Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. So in this case, maybe from the 5 region we can select only 2 region. Okay, contoh. And then dalam under region ni, we have 3 different campus. Let's say for the East region, we have Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang kan. So that's the cluster sampling technique. And then the last one under probability sampling technique, yang ni dia actually extent of the cluster sampling technique. Kalau tadi daripada 5 you pilih 3 and then 3 tu akan jadi automatically you punya sample. Right now for the multi-stage ni you pilih 3 tu takkan jadi you punya respondent lagi. You akan pilih lagi, you akan identify lagi. Okay, so example yang saya nak bagi untuk multi-stage ni saya tak baca lah sebab dia ada extended of cluster sahaja. So let's say that Shah Alam lah, kita contoh Shah Alam ada 13 section kan. So kita pilih 5 section, yang daripada 5 section ni we know that dalam section ni ada block apartment kan. Daripada block apartment ni kita tahu each block we have a level, 4 level. So kita pilih randomly select the level from chosen block. Contoh yang daripada yang ni kita pilih block kan. So dalam block ni ada level. So we choose the level only. So finally all kalau untuk multi-stage ni kalau you dah pilih macam ni, so all the apartment units tu from each selected level tu akan represent for your population. This is multi-stage sampling technique, which is the last sampling technique under probability sampling technique. Okay? And then this is just comparison lah about the probability and non-probability. Okay? List of the population element. Okay, you need to complete list lah. Untuk probability, non-probability not necessary. For the time requirement, for sure when you use the probability sampling, time lah, it takes time lah compared to non-probability, low time consuming kan. Tetapi for the estimation of the population parameter, using probability is unbiased lah, tak ada bias pun compared to non-probability. Okay, a measure of sampling error, we use statistical measures untuk probability, sample representativeness, for sure good untuk probability lah. Okay, kalau non-probability mungkin kita boleh question, kita boleh suspect, betul ke kan? Macam gitu. For generalizability, so probability sampling technique can estimate population parameters, can represent the population, even kita hanya ambil sample. But for non-probability, dia tak dia tak boleh represent the population because of the finding only represent for the sample yang diambil sahaja. Okay, I think that's all for the sampling technique topic. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Boleh saya bagi balik pada moderator?
Thank you, Madam Siti Haslina. So now we open the Q&A if any students are interested to ask. Please state your name and your class.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nawara and I'm from class E. I have a question and how do the different sampling methods impact the data analysis of the study result?
What you mean based on probability or non-probability, or you need to compare the difference between two?
Between the two of them.
Two of them. So we know that if you use non-probability, the sample cannot be represent for the population. But if you use the probability, the sample tu memang the result yang you dapat tu can generalize the population, which is more accurate. Dia accurate lah sebab you pakai probability. Why? Because of we use random. Everyone in the sample, in the population tu has an equal chance to be selected compared to non-probability. Kalau non-probability tak ada pun. Siapa yang available je. Tak semesti yang available tu adalah meet your requirement of the study. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Siti Haslina, for the answer. Madam Siti Haslini, my bad. We have a question from Nur Azwa Ashifa Azahi. How can combining snowball and cluster sampling improve data collection in hard-to-reach population?
Sekejap, sekali lagi.
How can combining snowball and cluster sampling improve data collection in hard-to-reach populations?
Tak boleh combine lah, cannot lah. Sebabnya snowball adalah under non-probability sampling technique. Cluster dalam probability sampling technique. Kan? Macam mana kita nak reach the population cluster tu actually when normally lah, for example lah kan, during my master, I'm use a stratified cluster sampling technique. Saya tak akan combine dengan snowball. This is a non-probability, right? So during my master, I'm doing the sampling technique that I combine between stratified and cluster sampling. So why? Because of I'm studying large populations. So it's difficult to me lah untuk dapat nanti masa lagi kan, cost lagi, tenaga lagi. So I combine. So daripada cluster tu, let's say that daripada seluruh Malaysia ni, saya hanya pilih Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang. So daripada Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang tu saya ambil stratified sampling technique. So dalam Kelantan ada daerah lain-lain. So saya identify Terengganu pun sama, Pahang pun sama. Tu pun kena kecilkan lagi dia punya ni. Sehingga saya dapat, if I'm not mistaken, 3 daerah for each negeri. Okay. Kita tak boleh combine yang probability dengan non-probability. But we can combine probability lah, sama-sama probability. In realnya memang saya pernah buat lah stratified cluster sampling technique. Okay. Boleh?
Boleh, thank you.
Boleh, madam.
Baguslah soalan you. Saya pun tak terfikir nak combine non dengan probability kan. Alright. Okay. I think kalau ada soalan tak? Ada lagi tak?
I think there's no questions now from our students. So thank you, Madam Haslini, for that insightful presentation. And we have reached at the end of our webinar. I would like to thank all students for their outstanding involvement, and a big thank you to our speakers for their time and expertise, and to all participants for your engaging questions and active participants. So now I would like to ask all participants to turn on their camera for a brief photography session. One, two, three. One, two. Okay. One, two, three. Okay. Thank you for all participants for your cooperations. With the end of the photography session, we have come to the end of our webinar, and we hope you find this session inspiring and informative. Thank you once again to everyone who is making this webinar a success. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.